Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Welcome back to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. I'm Barbara Hardt.
And I'm Doug Armitage. And now for this week's news.
Our intro music is performed by High Country Hustle. One of the 5 band members, Denon Jones, grew up in Nederland. He has moved to Durango, where he is a music teacher at Escalante Middle School. For more information about High Country Hustle, check out their Facebook page at www.facebook.com/High Country Hustle.
This episode is brought to you by Brightwood Music, Very Nice Brewing Company, Mountain Men Outdoor Store, Hardt's Backhoe, Forget-Me-Not Skincare, and of course, the Mountaineer newspaper.
Bring me down just to build you up. You bring me down just to build you up. I bring you down. I'll build you up to me.
For our first story, here is Patrice LeBlanc and her interview with Dutch Van Deuchen.
Hello, I am Patrice LeBlanc, and I have the opportunity today to interview Dutch Van Deuchen, who is a Central City resident, and Dutch has done many things since arriving in Central City. So Dutch, let me first get started and find out a little bit about your background. Can you tell us where you were born and where you grew up?
I was born in Burbank, beautiful downtown Burbank, California. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. So let's see, what else do you want to know? So I went to elementary school there. My sister came out to Colorado and I'd come and visit her, and I just loved Denver. It was such a cool cow town back then. So I decided to go to college out here. So I went to college in the 70s, and that's the early stuff.
And where did you go to college?
Regis College. It was way before it was a university.
And what did you study at Regis?
History, some medical. I thought I'd go into like dentistry, but I didn't have the aptitude. So I became a history and education. I got a teaching certificate for elementary school ed. So it was a liberal arts education.
Got it. And what did you do after college?
Let's see. Well, floated around various jobs in Denver. I was married by then, let's see, in the 70-something. And my wife wanted to go to law school, so we moved out to San Diego and lived there. Then stayed in California for about 13 years, and then decided to come back to Colorado. So did that.
Okay, and then what did you do once you arrived back in Colorado?
I started, so meanwhile, I got a IT certificate in California. So I worked for a school district for 10 years in IT. So I came back to Colorado with intentions to get an IT position. They weren't so easy back then. So I worked at University Hospital in a clinic for a while. Then I got hired by their IT division. And then I basically did IT all the way up until my retirement. So I worked from University Hospital, Children's Hospital. Then I basically retired.
That sounds good. And then when did you come to Central City?
About 2009. I was buying real estate in the mountains during the recession. So I had a cabin, I had a house in Idaho Springs, one in Georgetown, and I heard about this house open in Central City that was going up for auction. So I came and I thought, I don't know if I want a house that far north of I-70. But I came, I really liked the house, and eventually was able to purchase it.
Excellent. And what have you been doing since living in Central City?
Well, let's see, just tinkering around the house since I'm retired. I thought I'd do a lot of travel, but I didn't do that. And so since that, I've been trying to help along with the community. I got on the HPC committee, which is the Historic Preservation Committee. I was on the Planning Commission for a while. The city had an opportunity to open up a business up in the visitor center. So currently I'm running a business up at the visitor center. It's a 15-month program, so I have about 9 more months. And I'm working with a couple of close friends here to maybe start another business together. Maybe we could get one of these abandoned buildings and we could all have a business in it. So that's kind of the next future plan. Meanwhile, as far as music, I volunteer to play, like if they have an event somewhere, I just play in the background because I think people appreciate when they have an event that there's just some kind of music going on in the background. So I like to volunteer for that stuff.
And
I volunteer. Pardon? I do keyboards, some guitar, and I started writing my own songs back when I turned about 42. I went to, there was a songwriting group at Swallow Hill, and I found that very interesting. And I figured if you could get in front of an audience and sing, you could do anything. Because it takes a lot of nerve to do that, but you get addicted to it. So I'd be going to open stages all the time in Denver. And, you know, you meet all sorts of friends and stuff. So I played with a guitar player for a while. And it's just kind of nice to have something to fall back on. It's very enjoyable.
Excellent. And so can you tell us some of the places or events that you have played in Central City?
Let's see. So I played at, let's see, what is the name of that? The Elks Club. So I was just trying to start a open stage up there at the Elks Club on Saturday nights, but it didn't go very far. And then at Charlie's Old Bar, we had an open stage there. And then with the Peak to Peak Players, we had big plans for the stables that they're leasing from the Opera House. And we were going to have all sorts of events, and COVID hit. We're kind of planning that again. Now that the COVID restrictions are getting lifted, we might start doing things again at the stables. I played one night at the barbecue restaurant for Pat because she couldn't come in that night. She wasn't feeling well. So I played in place of you. Let's see, what else?
You did the Belvedere Pocket Park opening, I remember.
Yes. Yep. Did the Belvedere Public Park opening. There's a market down the hill on Sundays, and I'll go down there and play, you know, for a little while on certain days. So it's that kind of thing. It's like an escape. I mainly play in my dining room or up here in my office. I have a mini studio.
And I'm curious, what kind of business do you have about the visitor center?
Well, I've always collected stuff. So I got quite a collection up here. Mainly it's clocks. I do clock repairs. It's, you know, I collect jukeboxes, slot machines. It just depends, you know, musical instruments. It's quite a wide variety of stuff. So it's upstairs here on the second floor at the visitor center if anyone's interested in coming up and take a look.
Okay.
Hint, hint.
There you go. And Dutch, would you tell us, what is it like living in Central City? If you were to tell somebody that has never been here, what was your experience in living in a small mountain community such as Central City?
Well, it's an amazing place because you walk into a casino and it's a big party full with people, a lot of noise, a lot of lights. And then you step outside and it's like day and night. And here you are in this small town. So it's so interesting to be up here. There's just entertainment I don't think you'd ever not find something to find that's entertaining here, whether it's going to Dostal Alley, have beer with some friends, go gamble, just walk the streets, go to the art galleries, go to the Teller House. So it's just an amazing place, especially when we're only 30 miles from downtown Denver. It's like a world away. And the scenery up here is beautiful. The weather's great. There's so many pluses up here. Great people.
All right. Sounds like you have found your place.
Yep.
So, Dutch, would you tell us what holds what for the future? What are your plans for the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. Future. To get up in the morning is one of them. That's the major one that I'm still ticking. So yeah, it's like, okay, I'm alive. Well, I got a lot of house repairs to do. I'd love to. I have so much collectible stuff. I'd love to someday get one of these buildings and open up like a mini museum, and maybe with sales in it too. And I want to do some more traveling. I really like Utah. I discovered Utah with a friend of mine. It's so beautiful there. So I'd like to pick up some property in Utah. And let's see what else. I don't know, just keep playing music, keep doing some community events, just kind of hang out in this great town.
And I'm curious, you said you have gotten into songwriting. Do you ever plan to do anything with your songs?
Well, I tried recording. I'm so old school. I still use floppy disk drives. I don't know any of this new technology, all this, MIDI and all that. I'd love to be able to record so on the keyboard, I like to play. I'm like too old to really study scores and stuff like that and learn. So I kind of make up all these songs in my head with a classical taste to them. Because I really feel like the keyboard, I love Rachmaninoff and Bach and all those people. So I kind of mimic the way they played. And I find it amazing that I can remember these things. That's what I find really amazing. So I'll come up with a melody and stuff like that and embellish, and I can remember it. It's like, I don't know where that's coming from. It's very interesting. I don't write anything down.
Did you ever study classical music?
Yeah, because I took piano lessons in high school and some in college, and you basically learn classical. So but I didn't start early enough to be a really good pianist. I think you got to start nice and early because I really hate scales. I hate all that basic stuff. I just want to hit the keyboard running. And I find it so interesting. I play mainly with sounds. And I go, oh, I like the way that sounds. I like that. So I incorporate stuff and into just how I felt when I was playing certain notes and certain chords. It's kind of strange. I go in all different keys when I'm doing something.
So when you are performing, is it mainly improvisation, or do you have something prepared that you're going to present?
It's I don't like practicing very much because I almost like the spur of the moment and what happens in the moment. So like I say with these piano pieces, I kind of know the chords I remember, I was doing and the melody, but it's kind of like, it's so nice. I feel so free that I'm not tied to like a piece of sheet music. It's more just embellishing. It's like, hey, I'm going to add an arpeggio here, or whoops, I hit a wrong note, but I could play with it. And, and most people wouldn't know because it's all original stuff. They don't know if there's mistakes or not. It may not be too pleasing to their ear, but yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Usually I think we tie improvisation to jazz performances, but you improvise classical style music.
And I'd love to do jazz, but I am so bad at rhythm, it's ridiculous. 3/4, 4/4. And I love that jazz. I'm really trying to just don't think about it. Don't think of the music. Don't think of the notes. Just do it. And I find that really freeing. And it really helps because I think if I'm thinking too much, my fingers don't react quick enough. So I have a keyboard that has rhythm, samples in it, so especially some jazz ones and like things like that. And that's helped so much. I really like playing along with a rhythm track because that helps me so much. And it helps me create, even when I create guitar type music, which is mainly more rock. And, it's totally different from what I do on a piano.
So how did you learn how to play the guitar?
Well, I was taking some college classes in college, and then the guy said, "You know what, give up." So I thought, all right. So I just, as long as I know some chords and things like that, I could play along. And then I found it interesting composing because I love melodies. I hate lyrics. I love melodies. Melodies would come into my head constantly. So I got little notes of paper all over the place of just these melodies. And but then it's kind of like, well, when I go to my keyboard and I could record a sample of drums and bass, and I'll play some piano in the background. I could play along with that with my guitar and stuff because I could record that stuff and play along with it. And I just find that so much fun. Then I just come up with these crazy lyrics.
All right. Well,
yeah.
I know you are a great addition to Central City. So,
thank you.
Lovely having you here. And I think if people can look forward to seeing you perform, it is quite the experience.
Yes.
All right.
I agree.
Thank you, Dutch, for the interview.
Okay.
And you can find Dutch's shop right above the visitor center here in Central City. He does have a lot of blogs and a lot of very interesting items in his shop. So if you're in and around Central City, come on in and enjoy seeing what Dutch has to offer. Thank you, Dutch, for the interview.
Hey, thank you, Patrice.
All right, signing off.
Thanks to you and your husband. Talk about great assets to the city.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And now to the news desk.
The dates for the Gilpin County Slash site have been extended to Sunday, October 31st. Make sure you get your slash in this weekend.
Are you a local musician or artist? Would you like a feature story in a print edition of The Mountaineer on our podcast, website, or social media? Interviews are completed in person or by phone with our professional journalists. Interested? Email publisher1977@gmail.com to get on the list for upcoming editions.
Brightwood Music in Nederland has an extensive inventory of musical instruments and accessories. They also offer full repair services and lessons. A string change for your 6-string guitar is just $10 plus the set of string. Brightwood Music is family-owned and operated and has been a Nederland staple for more than a decade. They are located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, Unit 109 in Nederland, and can be reached at 303-258-8863.
Check out this week's full music listing, including where to be and what to see this week across the Peak to Peak region, as well as an action-packed edition full of Nederland and Gilpin school news, events, government, and more. The weekly print and online edition hits the stands every Thursday by noon.
The next News and Brews will be held on Thursday, October 28th at 5 p.m. at Very Nice Brewing Company. We hope you will join us for the next news discussion.
And now for an interview by Brooke Perry of Mountaineer staff member Jamie Lammers.
My name is Brooke Perry, and I am here interviewing
Jamie Lammers.
Yeah, and we're both part of the Mountaineer staff, and I just want to throw out what Jamie's about and his life as a Ned local, and he's been with the paper 2 years now, and is still kicking it, and he's doing all the great podcasts and everything. We just want a little bit more about Jamie.
Sweet.
So tell me a little bit about yourself.
All right. So, as she said, I've been writing for the paper for the last 2 years. I've went to school in Ned for as long as I can remember. And so Nederland's a very close town for me. It's a very close-knit community, and I've loved everything about that town for as long as I've been there. I've lived in Colorado my whole life. I've lived with my parents for my entire life. I lived in the same house my whole life. I've loved living in Colorado, I always love, I love this state as a whole. And I am currently going to CU Boulder as a humanities major with a minor in music.
Mm-hmm. What specifically in humanities are you doing?
Oh man, just a general humanities studies, just seeing what sticks. There's so much in general that I'm interested in, just art and movies and music and humanity in general. Of course, humanities. That I think humanities really covers all the basic liberal arts stuff that I find myself most interested in. History as well. I initially declared a history major, but that wasn't quite the trajectory I wanted to be on, even though I still love history.
You had told me prior to this that you were in choir and acting.
Yes.
And with your music minor, where do you see yourself going with that in your future if you want to do humanities?
Yeah, so I thought about being an archivist for a while. I don't know if that's still my main trajectory at this point, but it's still something I'm keeping in mind. Man, I mean, if I got to act or sing for a career, that would be incredible. So I've been, working on that. I've been auditioning for some stuff. I've been trying to here and elsewhere, just various different things, just seeing what sticks and just taking whatever opportunities I can to try and further whatever I can with singing and acting as a whole. I've been acting since I was in middle school. I directed some plays in high school. I have been singing for as long as I can remember. I started writing my own songs starting when COVID actually started. I've started trying to produce my own stuff. I've been getting more into editing in general. I've been editing for the podcasts here. So there's just a lot of creative endeavors that I'm really interested in trying to pursue.
Like music production?
Yeah. Yeah, music production is definitely a possibility for sure.
As you are with these creative endeavors, how does your creativity show through the newspaper?
That's a good question.
Or where do you want it to go?
I don't know. I just really, you talked in the previous, you talked in my interview with you about how you want to make an impact with smaller communities if you can, and just make as much of an impact as possible. And that's kind of what I want to do with my writing. I want to be able to make a connection with people and be able to, if I decide to go into journalism as like a full-on career, which I don't know if I will, but if I do, then I want to be able to, get people's trust and report their stories as truthfully as possible, be able to do all of that stuff. And so I think for me, the creativity just kind of comes from finding my own journalistic style and also trying to figure out how to remain true to what people say when I interview them as well.
Yeah. And in journalism, you can do whatever you want, whatever type of journalism, from arts to music, and musical journalism is a really big thing. So I heard you have some pets at home.
Yes, I do.
Let's hear about them.
I have 3 cats and I have a pleco fish. I was talking prior to the interview about how my pleco fish was initially a very small little thing with another pleco fish that I had. They're sucker fish basically, and so we got them to clean the tank, and we thought they'd be cute fish in addition to some of the other fish we've had. We've had black mollies, we've had betas, we've had a few fish throughout the years because I really wanted fish when I was younger for whatever reason. But then the plecos just kept on growing, and one of them is still alive and still very large. So he now has his own tank. And I have 3 cats. All of them I've had for, I think all of them at this point I've had for at least 10 years.
Wow.
So they're all adults, and I love them all very much. And I'm going home this weekend. I'm excited to see them again.
Yeah. As you're talking about futures and stuff, that's what I like to talk about usually. You still see yourself in the state. You said you love Colorado. Do you see yourself never leaving the state? And where do you see yourself here?
That's a good point. I think for the most part, yeah. I can't really see myself moving to a different place. Like if the circumstances allow for me to move to a different place, great, I'll do it. But I haven't really thought too much ahead about where do I want to live when I'm an adult? You know, I am perfectly fine with staying here. What would I want to do in Colorado? I mean, I'm just hoping to continue finding my own path and finding a job that works for me, and you know, just finding the life that overall works for me. And so I'm just kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that all goes well, while also, you know, working as hard as I can in the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, and I think that is how life should work, and I feel like that's the stuff that we're given in this position, is that we are given this position of, hey, this is some real world stuff, experience it and make it out for yourself. And those baby steps are really nice for us as young journalists, so and that's what I think it is.
For sure.
Oh, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, just mainly that I'm excited to continue working on writing endeavors, and excited to see where life takes me in general, and yeah.
And watch that pleco fish get bigger.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Oh.
Well, thank you so much, Jamie. I appreciate you for coming in today, and this is a run on some Two Mountains Year staff, intern and young worker, young employees, so two young journalists talking. Thank you so much, y'all, for listening. I hope you have a really great rest of your day or morning or whatever time of day it is.
Do you have a business in the Peak to Peak region? Send us your pitch. We cover every business from Allens Park to Central City, with all of the towns and canyons in between. Email publisher1977@gmail.com to be included in an upcoming edition with your business short take, or submit online on our website at www.themountaineer.com.
The 23rd Annual Tommyknocker Holiday Bazaar is seeking vendors, craftsmen, and entertainers. The bazaar will be taking place on Friday, December 3rd to Sunday, December 5th in the famous Steller House at 120 Eureka Street in Central City. Please take a look at this week's paper if you have any questions or want contact information for the event.
The Nederland Holiday Mountain Market will also be held December 4th and 5th. For information on the market, check out The Mountaineer every week. There will be live music, food, cocktails, dozens of vendors, and more.
Hello there, everybody! Concert season is back! Band and choir director Elizabeth Evans, orchestra director Christine Mallory, and Nederland Middle Senior High School will be hosting their fall concert series very soon. On Tuesday, October 26, 2021, you can head to the Nederland Middle Senior High School auditorium at 7 p.m. sharp for a performance of the fall concert of the 7th through 12th grade band and orchestra. On Wednesday, October 27, 2021, you can head to the same place at the same time, the Nederland Middle Senior High School auditorium at 7 p.m. for a performance of the fall concert of the 6th through 12th grade choir. On behalf of the staff and students at Nederland Middle Senior High School, the Mountaineer hopes to see you there.
For our final story, we have Jamie Lammers and his interview with Banshee Tree about their upcoming show at the Caribou Room. Take it away, Jamie.
Hello, my name is Jamie Lammers, and this is my interview with 3 of the 4 members of the local band Banshee Tree. I apologize in advance. There are times where the phone call in this interview breaks up a bit, and Jason might be a little hard to hear. Again, I apologize for these technical inconveniences, but they were impossible to edit around.
I am Michelle Petrofetta, and I play the drums with Banshee Tree.
My name's Jason Bertone. I play the bass with Banshee Tree.
My name's Nick Carter. I play the 5-string violin with Banshee Tree.
And are you guys the primary 3 members of the band?
3 of 4.
There's one more, the guitar player and lead singer, and he wasn't able to make it today, but that's Tom LaFond.
How long have you guys been a band?
His lineup has been a band for coming up on, what is it, just over 4 years?
Yeah, just over 4 years.
And the band had existed in a pretty significantly different format prior to that for, I think, 3 or so years before that.
Yeah, I was involved with the previous format, and we were pretty much traditional swing jazz bands. We would do like some Latin tunes, and then we would do some bluegrass, and we would do things like that. The current songwriting and musical direction of the band is removed from that. We still try to keep some jazz elements in the music, and I think we do that with some degree of success, but we're currently sort of away from that.
How did you guys come to be?
Tom started the band, I don't know how many years ago now, maybe 7 years ago or something, and it was
2014.
It was a swing duo. That was the original formation, and then Jason joined, and then Nick joined, I believe is the order, and I'm not sure how you guys kind of all met.
The original two members started out in upstate New York and traveled around the country a little bit and spent some time kind of car camping and stuff around Boulder. And I kept running into them. And at the time I wasn't playing fiddle or violin at all. I was mostly on mandolin. And I sat in on a couple of shows with them. We just kept running into each other in downtown Boulder, Colorado, and playing music on the streets and doing some water rights marches and trying to keep fracking at bay in the area. And then they needed a bassist at some point, and I was never like full time with them. And that's when I think Jake comes in.
I had been living in Gothenburg, Sweden for a couple of years. I lived in New York previous to that. I've done music. I primarily played the double bass. When I came to Colorado, which, I came to with that family living in there in the region, I had met Tom pretty much within a couple of weeks of moving to Boulder. I had met him through a friend who was in a great band called Hardt. Check him out. Then we met and we had a lot of very similar musical tastes. We both loved this old jazz music and kind of the weird creaky side of it, more of like the playing in the street corner of New Orleans versus Glenn Miller on Voice of America.
And then I met these guys. Well, I had known Tom way back in the day, but I reconnected, and then we kind of found a new sound with how we all have very different musical backgrounds. So then, the past 4 years has been kind of like formulating the sound that we have now.
And what would you say are some of your primary inspirations for the sound that you have come to have as a band now?
Hooey!
Django kind of influenced swing is still a big part of our music. That's where it started, and that's still kind of a part of the core. I definitely came in with some psychedelic rock influences. That's where I come from. If you guys want to speak to your influences, they're all quite varied.
Yeah, I was interested in jazz and I was interested in folk music. I actually studied ethnomusicology in college. I was very interested in punk rock and indie music and underground music, and really just became very interested in getting to like the weird sides and corners of music and art. One of the reasons I appreciated Tom so much when I met him was because he had similarly really weird tastes in music, and we could kind of be weird in this informed way together. And yeah, I think one thing that all four of us would agree on would be dance music is a big underlying of many different types.
Electro, swing, indie rock. People say bluegrass.
A little bluegrass, a little of how country music has bluegrass music. It's not like a drive that's like it's easy to dance to. And you just like sometimes if you hear a band like Yonder Mountain, the way the bass and the mandolin lock in, it's what makes you want to go as much as like any like house music would. It's pretty cool.
When I met up with the band, when I first met Tom, I had been in a swing band of sorts playing mandolin, but then Tom and I quickly started talking about like Flying Lotus and Radiohead and Mahavishnu Orchestra, fusion bands, just artists that were doing significantly left field kind of stuff from within established genres. Personally, I've mostly listened to deep house music and bass music these days, in between like classical concertos and whatnot. But someone recently described it on our last tour, came up and was like, man, you guys are like Django Reinhardt meets Mahavishnu Orchestra meets like MGMT. And I thought that was wild and also like surprisingly accurate for at least my taste in music, and I think some of the weird crossovers we hit.
Where did your own personal interest in music start?
Having ears?
I started when I was a little kid. I was just obsessed with singing. So I learned all these songs. I knew every song on the radio, and I would be singing all the time. And so my mom put me in voice lessons, which led to, I went to School of Rock. And when I went there, I just saw all of the opportunities to play all these amazing instruments, and I was drawn to the drums. I just kind of picked them because I thought they were really cool. And when I started playing, it became an immediate obsession. So I kind of crossed over from being a singer to a drummer when I was a teenager. And that's how I got my start. And then through that, I just kept developing and learning more about music and fusion rock and jazz and psych rock. And so that's how I started.
My earliest musical memory was being like it must have been like 4 or 5 years old, and beating on empty coffee tins with chopsticks. Like I built a fake drum kit out of, or I guess it wasn't exactly fake, but a mock drum kit out of pie tins and coffee tins, and was like playing along to my parents' Creedence Clearwater records, and I just felt so excited by it. And then started taking lessons when I was young, and just kind of every opportunity I had to do something musical, I would hop on, from school band trumpet to musical theater in high school.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that actually my first instrument was a fake drum kit.
Yeah. I was always interested in music. I came from, kind of very faceless suburban New Jersey, and punk music was a thing. There was a really big punk scene. There was tons of bands. There were tons of shows. It's something you could really get involved with in like an unsupervised way, which is like when you're thinking about suburban childhood in that time. It was a very supervised era of children. I did music in school. Like I was in like the school band. I was in like the audition choir. I took music on guitar and electric bass. What I liked about playing in punk bands is it was something I could organize. It was something that I like had to stay in. I didn't need to ask permission to do anything. If I was doing it, I was doing it. If I couldn't do it, I could figure it. It wasn't like I couldn't do it. It wasn't against the rules. I was discouraged in any way. So I think that outlet of music has really carried me up to this point. When I was in college, I played all sorts of music, and I began playing double bass. I moved to New York, and I played double bass professionally for many years. So I really got into pretty much everything, and I've had some great experiences with music.
And would you say that you guys have a favorite part in being able to perform music live and being able to perform it as a career?
So many favorite parts.
I like to travel.
Yeah, the traveling, touring, being able to choose our own schedule. For me, it's the ability to connect with humans in such a special way.
Yeah, I'm 100% with that. My favorite part is in doing something that brings people together, provides kind of like opportunities for connection in times and spaces when that might not seem so possible otherwise. Just in giving people a relief or a build-up or something, I think music is probably the coolest drug I've found so far, and there's something really exciting about the release and the feeling of communion that people have when they come together in a space and move at the same tempo and feel the same pulse amongst them.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of people go to shows to release whatever it is they're frustrated with throughout the week, and it's an honor to get people release their stuff. It's an honor to help people let go of, just work through whatever it's got going on in their life. It's almost like when we go from city to city, it's like we have friends. We just get to pop in on our friends all around the country.
Are there any performances we can look forward to in the coming future at the Peak to Peak area?
Right before Halloween, that's Saturday.
It's Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. At the Caribou Room.
October 30th at the Caribou Room.
We're really excited.
Yes, the Caribou Room. We've been fortunate to play there several times. A couple of years back, we got to do one of the Christmas shows at one point. During the pandemic, we got to play in the parking lot. We were very nervous. We hadn't really played a public show in 8 months. Very special place for all of us. Really enjoy it up there. One of my favorite rooms in Colorado.
Yeah, super love it. They've done a lot of work to try and reduce their carbon footprint and make sure they're getting the energy used for the shows from renewable sources. And they're just such lovely people. They make bomb food, and they really appreciate music, and it really shows in their production, everything. And it always just feels like a big community event up in that space.
Is there anything else in general you would like to add about upcoming performances in the Peak to Peak area, or things that you're interested in, or just things in general about the band?
Yeah, we just have released an album. We released an album about 2 months ago. It's self-titled. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all of the platforms.
Bandcamp,
wonderful. We have a video for the single Ceremony on YouTube. You can check that out there. We self-produced this album and self-produced and made the music video. Very pleased with how it came out, and maybe give it a listen, see what you think. You can buy a hard copy at our shows too if you're somebody who still likes CDs. I don't know how many podcast listeners. I wonder what the carry is.
I think that's pretty much it from me. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add, but
I appreciate your time so much.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for coming on board.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. Really appreciate you taking the time and having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much again to Michelle, Jason, and Nick for being able to come on board all at once. This was such an incredible interview.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Mountaineer Podcast. All editions of the Mountaineer Podcast are available on our website at www.themountaineer.com and click on Podcast.
Pick up this week's edition of The Mountaineer in Nederland, Gilpin County, Ward, Jamestown, Gold Hill, Ferncliff, and Allens Park. You can also order a single PDF edition. Subscribe to the paper yearly or monthly online at www.themountaineer.com and click on subscribe. All print subscribers also receive free access to our website.
And go online to catch up on more local news. I'm Doug Armitage.
And I'm Barbara Hardt. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Build you up, I bring you down. How build you up to me? You bring me down just to build you up. You bring me down just to...
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak-to-Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.